Hi, Jock. Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning, Jock. He's come to say hello. I'm just going to have a sit down here next to me. Okay, that's excellent. Apart from dogs, one of my favorite subjects, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this, are the various books that are in print. I've read dozens of books about not just wrongful convictions, but I've just recently finished, for example, the superb first part of a 3-part series by Vic Fazell, Rhinos, Sharks and Unicorns. Absolutely brilliant book. Definitely must read. Although it's fiction, it's from the mind of Vic Fazell. Need I say any more than that? And it's interesting that Vic Fazell is actually one of the people that comes to mind in this next article I'm going to share with you today. As I say, this is something that always interests and fascinates me. Believe it or not, when I was at school, I was always considered a bad reader. I didn't read a great many books. Didn't really like reading books. How tastes change. So this is an article by the Innocence Project. Again, it's one that I actually came across quite a while back because this is from the 9th of August. So I'm about 2 months late in getting this one, but I did enjoy this article. The 8, or as they call it, 8 must-read books by wrongfully convicted writers, people who have actually been wrongfully convicted and are writing their own moving memoirs that highlight the strength and the survival and the urgent need for change. So that this actual item is written by the Innocence staff, and immediately Yusuf Salam jumps out at us. But there's others as well. Let's come on down. I don't know if Marty Tancliffe has ever done a book. I always feel he should write a book. You know, the way he was wrongfully convicted at 17 and told all the lies by investigators. Anyway, let's carry on. Writing is a powerful tool of expression and reflection for many incarcerated and wrongfully convicted people. These 8 exonerees and wrongfully convicted people took their passion for writing a step further, penning these compelling memoirs that not only paint haunting portraits of what it's like to be innocent and incarcerated, but also shine a spotlight on the greater iniquities and systemic flaws ingrained in criminal legal systems. I like the fact they call it legal systems and avoid These first-hand accounts of surviving and overcoming wrongful conviction are must-reads for anyone interested in criminal justice reform. Yeah, I don't mind the use of words justice there when it comes to reform. Redeeming Justice by Jarrett Adams. And Jarrett Adams, believe it or not, is actually from Wisconsin. At 17, Jarrett Adams was arrested for a crime he didn't commit in Wisconsin. Mr. Adams the crime was committed in Wisconsin, but anyway, it was the Wisconsin Innocence Project, so we'll assume that he's from Wisconsin. Mr. Adams spent 8 years wrongfully convicted before being exonerated with the help of the Wisconsin Innocence Project. While incarcerated, Mr. Adams focused on learning all the ins and outs of the criminal legal systems. Well, that certainly reminds us of Steve, both to understand how such an injustice had occurred and how he could change it. After his exoneration, Mr. Adams earned his law degree and worked at the Innocence Project, where he argued before the same court that had convicted him a decade before and won. In this engaging memoir, Mr. Adams shares his experience and his clients' stories, painting a stark portrait of deeply flawed legal systems. Available for pre-order here, will be released on. Okay, so I will leave the link to this in the description. Solitary by Albert Woodfox. Albert Woodfox spent 44 years and 10 months in Angola prison. I've heard of Angola prison, often called America's bloodiest prison. While insisting on his innocence, he spent most of that time in solitary confinement and is widely reported to have spent the longest time in solitary confinement of any person in the United States. During his wrongful incarceration, Mr. Woodfox dreamed of writing a memoir. Upon his release, he penned Solitary, an incredible and profound book that traces his fight for justice. The book was a Pulitzer Prize winner and American Book Award finalist. Solitary is available to purchase here. Yes. Better Not Bitten by Dr. Yusuf Salaam. In this moving memoir, Dr. Yusuf Salaam tells his story of survival as a wrongly convicted teenager. He details how his family and his faith powered him through 7 years of wrongful incarceration and supported him as he returned to his community. This is a must-read for those who watched Netflix's When They See Us and want to hear directly from one of the exonerated 5. Dr. Salaam, an Innocence Project board member, is also the author of Punching the Air, a young adult novel written in prose and words of a man, a selection of his poetry. Better Not Bitten is available to purchase here. Interesting. Poetry. If there was one thing that Chad Keller is always good at is writing poetry. I would have to definitely admit to that. His writing is very powerful at times. Anyway, Picking Cotton by Jennifer Thompson Connino and Ronald Cotton with Erin Torneo. Okay, this next bit will explain a bit more. In 1984, an intruder broke into Jennifer Thompson Connino's home while she was asleep and raped her at knife point. After viewing a photographic lineup that used flawed eyewitness practices, Miss Thompson Connino mistakenly picked out Ronald Cotton as the person who had attacked her. Mr. Cotton spent 10 years wrongly imprisoned before DNA evidence proved his innocence and exonerated him. After his exoneration, Mr. Cotton and Miss Thompson Connino developed an unlikely friendship and have teamed up to shed light on how wrongful convictions occur. Picking Cotton is their story. Live to Tell by Anthony Wright with Rob Kelly. Anthony Wright was a 20-year-old with NFL dreams when he was wrongly arrested for rape, robbery, and murder in Philadelphia. He spent 25 years in prison before DNA exonerated him in 2016 with the help of the Innocence Project. In this compelling memoir, Mr. Wright takes readers through his long, difficult journey, from the interrogations that paint a picture of how innocent people can be pressured into false confessions, to rejected appeals, to his first moments of freedom. Next, The Sun Does Shine by Anthony Ray Hilton and Lara Love Harding. Hope no relation to Jim. Gee whiz, that would be bizarre, wouldn't it? Anthony Ray Hinton spent 30 years on death row in Alabama for murders he did not commit. As a black man in the South experiencing poverty, Mr. Hinton faced an uphill battle to prove his innocence, but he did not give up. In 2015, he was freed with the help of Brian Stevenson, founder and executive director of the Equal Justice Initiative, and obviously the film that's available on Netflix now, Just Mercy. Brilliant film about Brian Stevenson, always worth a listen to, particularly when Brian Stevenson talks about death penalties. He is strongly opposed to the death sentence. During his decades of wrongful conviction, Mr. Hinton remained strong and was a beacon of hope for those around him. The sun does shine recounts his story of survival. Next, the one that really spoke. I've certainly done a lot of looking at this particular case, of the case of Michael Morton. Michael Morton was fed a whole load of lies by none other than Jim Boutwell, of course, who is the Texas Ranger in the Confession Killer. And also there was a DA at the time. I'm going to say Ken Anderson, but I might have got that wrong. But I know that the pair of them were really bad, and Michael Morton had a real struggle to get himself freed. You know, the DA not wanting stuff tested, a bandana that would have cleared him straight away. The day after Michael Morton's 32nd birthday, he returned home from a full day at work to discover that his wife had been murdered in their home. Though no physical evidence connected him to the crime, Mr. Morton became the main suspect, with the help of Jim Boutwell. In 1987, he was convicted and sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison in Texas. He spent 24 years in prison before being exonerated by DNA with the help of the Innocence Project and the law firm Rayleigh and Burrick. Drawing on Mr. Morton's personal reflections, journal entries written during his wrongful incarceration, court documents, and more, Getting Life guides readers through the missteps and outright corruption, basically, that led to Michael Morton's wrongful conviction and how he regained his freedom. I think that of all the ones, that's the one that I'm going to look forward to getting a hold of. Although I must admit, at the moment, I'm busy reading Michael Caccini's first ever book, and they didn't even read me my rights. So I must get that one finished first. Infinite Hope by Anthony Graves. In 1992, Anthony Graves was wrongfully arrested for murder. Though he had no motive to commit the crime and no physical evidence connected him to the murders, he was convicted and sentenced to death in Texas. Mr. Graves spent 16 years wrongfully convicted, most of them in solitary confinement and on death row. He came close to being executed twice and was finally exonerated in 2010 after a reinvestigation of his case found that the prosecutor in his case had concealed exculpatory evidence, presented false testimony, and lied. Well, that's exactly Steve's case. This powerful memoir recounts Mr. Graves' relentless fight to live and be free. That's Infinite Hope. What's the next one? Oh, sorry, that is the 8. Sorry, I'm thinking 10, but no, 8. Well, as I say, I will leave the copy it now. I will paste this into the description so that you can get access to any of those books. I know the dude used to like books as well, but he did the audiobook version. He even bought the audio version. I think it was on special offer of Ken Kratz's book. I must admit, I've never read Ken Kratz's books. There's no need to. There's so much about it on the internet. What I did that really irked Ken Kratz when I told him about it was that I didn't read his book. No, he kept going on at me. You should buy the book. No, I said I've read the reviews. The reviews, they make it quite clear. Your book is terrible. It's full of nonsense. It's just garbage, But yeah, that's Ken Kratz, trying to cash in on the popularity of Making a Murderer. Anyway, we'll catch you all soon. Take care. Bye for now. He's fast asleep. Must be my voice.